Welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're going to do a continuous join as you go to join all 6 of these squares together. This continuous join as you go technique adds a 4th round to all of your 3-round granny squares. Whatever size you're doing, it's going to add another round. So keep that in mind when you're doing your measurements. But today I'm doing 3-round squares. It's the same no matter what size. So as you'll see in the schematic that we're following for the join, we are starting with the top right square. So I'm going to go ahead and join my yarn on, which I do just by pulling in a loop, do a chain just to hold it on, and then do my turning chain. Now I'm going to do 2 more double crochets because that's the pattern we're using. And that's my first corner. I'll do the other side of the corner when I come back around. So I'm just going to go ahead and work normally around 3 sides of this square. And as I come around to this corner, I'm just going to do 3 double crochets into that corner. And again, we'll finish this corner when we come back to this part. So this square goes into our layout like this. Now we're going to add on the next one that goes underneath it. To add on a square, no matter which direction you're going, it's easiest to lay it next to the square you're working on. And now we're going to do 3 double crochets into that corner. Okay, now we're going to turn this square so that it's sitting on top like this of the square we're working in. And we're going to go to this hole on this side, just past the corner, put our hook through, pull up a loop and chain, and then chain 1 to hold it in place. So it locks it nicely. Now we're going to work the next 3 double crochets. And then we're going to join again in the next hole on the other side. So from front to back, grab the yarn, and then chain 1 to lock. Go do the next 3 double crochets. Back to the first square, we're going to go in the next hole, grab the yarn and pull it up and pull through like a slip stitch, chain 1 to lock it in place, and then we're going to do 3 in the corner here, 3 double crochets. I like to do a chain 1 on the corners, doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to slip stitch to join to the corner here and chain 1 to lock. Now I'm going to do 2 more sides of this square just normally. Okay, so I've got 2 squares joined now. Now if you have more squares than I do in each column, keep adding them on like you did this green one, where you join on the top and then do 2 sides. And then you join on the top and do 2 sides. When you get to the last square in your bottom corner, you're going to join at the top and continue on 1 side. So let's do that. Okay, we're going to grab this square. We're going to do 3 double crochets in this corner. Then we're going to turn the work so that it's above where we're working. We're going to go into that first hole, slip stitch, and then chain 1 to join. I'm just going to move these squares out of the way. Okay, we're going to do 3 double crochets in the next hole on our orange square. And then we're going to slip stitch join and chain 1 to lock it in place. And we'll keep going. join to the corner, and then work down one side as you normally would. Let's bring these guys back and see what we've got. So I've got my first column done. I'm going to move it up there so we can see that. Now I need to add on these 3 new squares. We're starting a new column. And the way we're going to do this is we're just going to join this side of the squares to our project, like so. We're going to do 3 double crochets into the corner of this bottom square. Turn our work, and then we're going to go into the first hole on this orange one there and join, and continue this side, joining as we go. I'm doing the corner now of the pink square, chaining 1 because it's a corner. Now we need to work into the corner on this side. I think that the best look is working in between this group of stitches and this group of stitches. See my finger sticking through there? That's the hole we're going to do our slip stitch in. Here we go, and chain to lock. Now we're going to grab our next square, which is this blue one here. Do 3 double crochets in the corner. And we're going to go into the next hole on this darker green one over here. Okay, we're on the corner. I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to find that hole in between the 2 groups of stitches. Stick my hook in there and do my slip stitch and chain 1 to lock it in place. Last square on this row, or column, I guess. We're going to do 3 double crochets into the corner. Go to the next hole to do our slip stitch. Chain 1 and join like we have been. Chain 1 because it's the corner. And then we're going to join onto the corner hole there. All right, so there's our project so far. A little update. Let's move that end out of the way. All right, so the next step is to go around these squares, as in the diagram. So I'm going along the top of this light green square and down the side. And then across the bottom. Okay, let me show you where we are. We have reached a corner. So what do you do here? What I suggest you do is you find that spot between these 2 groups of stitches again. Just pull them apart. We're just going to do our slip stitch back in there again. An alternate method would be to go into the corner of the diagonal square. It's up to you. I'm just going to do my slip stitch in here and single crochet to lock it in place. Okay, let's join the top of this blue square to the light green one. Join in the corner there. And now I'm just going to do the last two sides of this blue square. Okay, so we're at this intersection again. I'm going to find the spot across where these two groups of stitches are and just work into that hole there. Do my slip stitch and chain one to lock it in place. Now I'm going to work across this pink square and join it to the blue one. And then work this side normally. Okay, so this is what we have so far. All right, it's hard to get it all in picture, but you can see it's joined there. Now, if you were continuing on and adding more columns, you would put your squares here and join them straight along like we did on this row, and then work around like we did here. And then when you're on your last column, which we are, when you get to this last square, you're going to continue to work across the bottom here. If you're following a pattern where the squares are not all the same size, just go wherever the line tells you to go, just like in the schematic we're using. Okay. So I've made it to this intersection, and once again, we're just going to find that hole between the two groups of stitches and do our, and in this case, we are going to chain one, single crochet into that gap there, and chain one. Now we're going to continue on with 3 double crochets in the corner here. And we're going up the side. We're at a corner again, so finish off this corner with 3 double crochets. We're going to chain one. We're going to single crochet into that gap between the groups of stitches, chain one, and double crochet in the corner and continue on. And we're at this kind of intersection again, so chain one, single crochet in the gap, chain one, and continue on. Here we are, we've reached where we started, and we're finishing that corner off. Now you could finish here if you wanted to. My patterns in the All Squared Away series, this is where the schematic will end. However, I think it looks nicer if you add another round to the outside. I will show you how to do that. So we're on the corner here. I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to single crochet into the top of that stitch there. This puts the yarn kind of in the middle of that corner as opposed to on one side or the other. So I have room to do a group of 3 double crochets here, and they don't look too squished. Well, maybe a little squished, but not too squished. Now I'm going to work my way around, just working normally. Okay, so I'm at the corner and I've got this sort of weird thing. So where do I work? Well, once again, we're just gonna pull those stitches apart and work into that hole. We're gonna do the next group of 3 right in there. So don't work into the corners of any of the squares. Instead, do your group of 3 in between the corners. This counts for both of these squares. So the next hole we're gonna work in is over here. Like that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We're going down the side now. We're at one of these corners again. So again, I'm not going to work into the corner here. I'm going to work into this space here with my 3 double crochets. And again, don't work in the corner, go to the next one. Okay, and keep going. Now this is a corner that we did the single crochet in. We're just going to go ahead and work into that same spot where we did the single crochet in and do our doubles in there. It's no big deal. It looks maybe a little bulky, but you're not going to notice it in the end. All right, we're at another one of these intersections here where we did the single crochet. We're just going to do all our doubles in that same spot. And our last one of these with the single crochet, we're just going to work into the same spot. And we reached the corner. Just gonna do 2 chains and slip stitch into the stitch there and cut my yarn. All right, so here's our project. I'm going to turn it sideways so we can see a little better. So you can see the reason why I like this second round is because in between the squares, it kind of has the look of 2 rounds. And so that's why I put the round on the whole outside, but that's optional. If you look at my all squared away patterns, the schematic does not include a line to go around the second time, but the estimated yardage for the join does include doing that. So you shouldn't have any problems whichever way you decide. Now, the reason I like continuous join as you go as opposed to just the regular join as you go is you get this look of like a color framing all of your squares, but there's only 2 ends. Now, of course, I've made a small item here. If I had done a regular join as you go with this white edging on all the squares, I would have ended up with 2 ends for every square. So that's 12 ends to weave in instead of just these 2. Now, if you're making a bigger project, you might end up using more than one ball of yarn for your join. You know, the baby blankets usually need 3 or 4 balls, depending on the size of the ball of yarn you're using, of course. So if you had 3 or 4 balls, you're looking at 6 or 8 ends to weave in, rather than, dozens and dozens of ends for each of the squares. So that is the continuous join as you go technique. Again, if you check out any of my patterns that start with all squared away, there's about 37 of them as of the time of recording. I'll put a link below in the description to my Ravelry shop and my Etsy shop. You do not need a Ravelry account to buy the patterns there. I'm not sure about Etsy. I think you might need an Etsy account. And join my Ravelry group if you'd like. If you're on Ravelry, I highly recommend Ravelry. Not sponsored. I just like them a lot. You need an account to look at the forums and things, but they're free and they only email you to make sure that you signed up on purpose. After that, you will not hear from them again unless you specifically ask to. So again, check the links in the description below. This technique is used in all of my all squared away blanket patterns. And I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching.